Good morning. What's going on, YouTube? I was listening to different things, trying to find some inspiration, just for myself. And as I was listening, I heard something that was that kind of hit home to me that I wanted to speak to you guys about. And I was listening to my guy Isaiah Fowler, who is Mr. Starts With a Vision. In case you don't follow him, make sure you go check him out with his podcast. But he was talking about working for free, and that reminded me of a video that I was supposed to do a while back, but I didn't write it down, so I forgot to do it, which was, I want you to think long term. You have to think long term, because I want to tell you about when I first started my YouTube channel. This is example number one. I got a couple more, you know how I do. But when I first started my first YouTube channel, not this one, but the original one, for you guys who long time AJ Simmons followers, you know what I'm talking about. And when I first started that channel, I wasn't really sure what I was going to do, but I knew that I wanted to talk about something. I knew that with my business experience that I could do it, because I originally started with YouTube. What even motivated me to want to get up there and speak, because I didn't even know it existed until I had a job. Once I finished my first experience with a franchise and my first barbershop, I had to go back to a regular daytime job, and it was so degrading. Like, it made me feel so low. And somehow I discovered YouTube. I don't even know how I discovered YouTube, and I started. The more I typed in stuff on YouTube, the more I realized, damn, everything is up here. So I started typing in business seminars, and that's what I would always search: business seminars. And somehow, on a suggested video, I ended up on a guy YouTube channel by the name of Abdul Muhammad, who is I think his old channel was Start a Business for Cheap, but he changed the name to Follow Your Passion Now. And I used to listen to him, and it was just so refreshing to hear his videos, because I never heard a regular entrepreneur, a regular guy like myself, speaking like that. Like, when you hear business seminars and stuff, it's always dressed up. You got the guy in the suit and tie, and he's talking about big business most of the time, where you just kind of got to take with some of the stuff that you hear and try to translate it and make it relate to your situation. But when I heard Abdul's channel, it was like, hold up, this guy talking in plain English, and he talking about shit on my level. You know what I mean? So that motivated me to want to do a channel too. And when I first started my YouTube channel, it took me, I want to say, a whole year before, and I think it was longer than that, but I want to say it took me a year before I finally even saw any real money from the AdSense when I was monetizing videos. But I kept thinking long term. I kept saying, because I noticed that the number would creep up by a couple cents each day, just a couple of cents. And so I used to check it every day once I seen it, but then after a while I just didn't check it. And then so finally, I think I stopped checking. It was like $15, and finally I just stopped checking it. And then after a while I went back and checked it, maybe about 9 months later, after I started uploading. And I said, oh wow, I'm at $75. And the thing why that was so important is because with YouTube, not just with YouTube, but with AdSense in general, they have a monthly threshold that you have to hit $100 in order to make a withdrawal. So in order for you to get a check for your AdSense revenue, it got to at least be $100 every month. And I was at $75, and I was like, oh shoot, you know what I mean? Like, I need to hurry up and get more content up, because if I get more content up, even I don't care if I'm making 20 cents a video and 20 people watching it, if the more I put up there, the faster it'll come. So I finally got it to 100, and I think it took me about a year. So I put in a whole year's worth of work for free, and when I finally got paid, it was only $100. Now, once I got that check, all it did was go up from there. And so the highest I ever got that channel up to was it generated $600 a month. Now that might not seem like a lot to a lot of people, and I was at 10,000 subscribers with that channel, making $600 a month. And that might not seem like a lot of money to a lot of people, but I can tell you this: a lot of people thought it was such a big deal that I went and got that Range Rover that I got for my fiance. But I can tell you $600 will definitely pay your Range Rover car note if you want one. So for those who think that $600 a month ain't a significant deal, it was for me. You know what I mean? And there's also residual money. You see what I'm saying? So that's what made it so great. But my point is, I was willing to put in a whole year without making money in order to finally get that residual money, making a decent amount of income doing something that I actually enjoy. And a lot of people aren't willing to do that. When people ask me about how to get multiple sources of income, one of the first things that I always tell them is YouTube, because I know how easy it is for me to get money on YouTube. And people are immediately shut down. They shut it off once I tell them how long it might take them to finally generate their first check. They don't want to hear it. They don't want to put in a whole year, maybe 2 years, to finally get to that $100 check. You know what I mean? And I understand. But what I'm trying to say is, you got to be willing to put in that work. You might even feel like you're working for free sometime in order to get ahead. And by the way, just if you're curious, I did the same thing with this channel. This channel, I wasn't making any money. I wasn't getting a check from it. But once they got rid of the old channel, I said, okay, I'm going to do 2 videos a day and make this thing go super fast. And now I'm already up to the $100 threshold, and it's only been 2 months since I started really going hard. Or maybe 3 months, I don't know. But it's only been a couple of months. It definitely didn't take a year this time. So just be willing to go hard for what you want, first of all, even if that means working for free. I want to tell you about this too, with my cleaning business. Don't you realize by now, by after listening to me, you should realize what was able to make me propel and thrive past the majority in this business is because I was willing to go the extra mile and not be paid extra for it. You see what I'm saying? I was always willing to over deliver. So when I'm out in an account, when I first get any new account, especially if my fiance don't come with me because she get tired of me, she don't want me to do this, but when I get any new account, I go out there and I put in work because I want to make my first impression the best impression that person has ever received. That customer, I want to impress them so much that they say, you know what the hell were we doing? What why didn't we get AJ Sims from the beginning? You know what I mean? That's always my goal. So, and if my fiance ain't with me, because she'll help me speed it up and she likes to get out in a decent time, but if she ain't with me, I'll clean in a building from 5 o'clock in the evening until 5 o'clock that following morning, just to make sure I get every single thing. And in some new accounts, you know that you're supposed to get paid for an initial clean, which is basically like a deep clean to start you off, and you're paid a little extra for those. But even if I don't get it paid for the initial clean, I still provide initial clean, just because that's just how I understand that. That's what made me successful. I started off that way and I kept it going up until today. Anytime I get a new account, I make sure I go super hard. And then if I can't get it all that one night, I explain to the customer, all right, I got this half today super good, and I'm gonna get the other half tomorrow super good, or something like that. Like you got to go that extra mile and be willing to do what others won't do. And sometimes what others won't do is work for free, so you be willing to do it. Because essentially it's not even working for free. You're getting that experience in most cases, and then you're putting yourself ahead of the pack. You're standing out. You're creating a reputation for yourself, which in turn will allow you to require more income later on. So like, for example, when I did that with my largest account, which I felt like was underbid at the time, I just put in that extra work, and I did whatever I had to do. I bent over backwards until I could finally satisfy that customer. And once I satisfied that customer, I went a few months and I finally said, you know what, I'm not making the money in this account. Let me go back and let me see if I can sell this account. I tried to sell the account and couldn't sell the account because the customer wouldn't let me. They said that if I sold the account to another franchise owner, that they would leave the franchise company that I was with and go find somebody else. So the master franchise owner of the company that I was with had to come back to me and practically beg me to stay with this customer because they didn't want to lose that large account. So I told them that we're going to have to ask for a raise. That's the only way I can stay in there. And more of the story, I'm sure you heard this story before if you've been following me a long time. I was able to get a raise in that account. and continuous raises that goes up a couple percentage every year going forward. All because I was able to go that extra mile and work. But I was making a negative income on that account for maybe the first 4 months in that account, and then I basically broke even for probably the first 9 months before I finally got a raise in that account. I was putting in work. I was doing things that I probably wasn't even supposed to do. And that's what you got to be willing to do. That's how you elevate yourself against the norm. See, you got to understand, if you want to be outstanding, you have to stand out. How do you stand out? You got to do things that other people won't do. You can't fit in. Why? Like, don't try to be cool. Don't do what everybody else is doing. If everybody else is doing it, then it's probably mediocre. And if it's mediocre, then it's not great, and you're trying to be great. Separate yourself. Don't be afraid to work for free. Don't be afraid to work just for experience. Now, again, let's just be clear here. Let's not be crazy. Don't go working for free when you know that you don't have any income coming in and you got to pay bills. You know what I mean? Don't get put out trying to listen to AJ Simmons, because that's not what I'm telling you. But what I'm saying is, if you have an opportunity like I did when I was 19 years old, before I bought my first cleaning franchise, and I called a lady by the name of Radonna and asked her about the opportunity, and she was willing to help me. She invited me to come work for her for free just to get my experience up before I actually started and became a franchise owner, which helped me tremendously throughout my career. It might not have worked 100% the first time around, because I was a horrible franchise owner the first time around, but it helped. All of that contributed to what I was able to become during this second round in my franchise. You see what I'm saying? So everything, you just gotta prioritize yourself. Think long term. That's what I'm trying to tell you. Think long term. Don't worry about how much you can make off an opportunity tomorrow or today or whatever. Figure out how much you're gonna make off that opportunity in 5 years. What is this? What are you doing today that's gonna help you 5 years from now? You know what I mean? That's Amazon was able to do. To go look up and study Jeff Bezos and study how he was able to hold off on collecting or getting a dividends from Amazon for the first 5 to 7 years. You know what I mean? You gotta think long term, and don't be afraid to work, because you're gonna feel like you work for free, but essentially you're not, as long as you stay focused. And that's the key. That's helped me so much, being able to just do things and go the extra mile, because I know in this cleaning business in particular, people can get out there, and if you're clean, first of all, you shouldn't be cleaning if you're the owner. That's the first thing. And if you are, it's because you were undisciplined like me and decided that you'd do anything to get out that damn job, and that's why you're cleaning. But you really shouldn't be cleaning. And that's why I started off cleaning, you know what I mean? And now I'm back out here because I'm in the process of regrowing and building my business up too. So, and we got to talk about that another time. But anyway. Okay, so when you in the account, you might feel sometime like, well, I'm only making X amount of dollars an hour. I'm only making $15 an hour. I'm only making $10 an hour, or blah, blah, blah. And you might feel like, you know what, I could have just kept my day job for this. I'm only making this an hour. But what you got to remember is, your objective in a business and your objective at a job are two different things. See, when you're working in your business, it's not about what you make an hour. It's about, this is the job that you were asked to do, and this is the amount that you're charging a customer for. You do that job and get it done to the best of your ability each time, and receive that check for it. The check that you agreed to accept for that service. What you make an hour has nothing to do with anything as a business owner. You're building equity. You're building a business. You're not going to work. You're not going to a job. You got to change you got to completely rearrange your mindset in entrepreneurship. And some people will say, well, that's stupid. Well, why should I work like this? Well, first of all, if you only making $15 an hour and you out there cleaning, then that's your fault. Because like I told you, you shouldn't be out there anyway. What you should have is a $10 an hour employee out there working for you at $10 an hour, and then you make $5 an hour for not cleaning, for not doing anything. And then you go out there and you get you 100 more accounts and do 100 times $5 an hour. Oh, you see what I'm saying? You just multiply your efforts, and that's how you can never grow to where you're supposed to grow if you out there trying to do every single thing. Because because you can only do so much by yourself. But once you start to create that passive income and start to streamline your business, then you can grow the way you're supposed to go. But anyway, I've gone like extremely long this time because I was just motivated, because I really want to tell you about this. Think long term and understand that sometimes most of the time, almost all the time in business, you are not going to get immediate payout. So if you feel like you're working for free, just understand that it's going to come, but you just got to have that process. You got to go through the process. Don't be afraid to go through the process. So hopefully y'all were able to get this. I wasn't able to get it like I wanted to get it. I felt like I ain't hit it out the park like I wanted to, but I hope you got something out of this message. And I thank y'all so much for watching, subscribing, liking, sharing, and commenting. And lately it ain't even watching, it's more listening than anything. But thank you guys for sticking with me. This is AJ Simmons, and please subscribe if you haven't subscribed already. Thank you.